What's up? What's up? Welcome to Off Topic Tuesday. What's up, Moki? I see you in the building. Ah, today is gonna be a fun day. It's a fun day. Let me just start off. You never know what people you're gonna meet. You never know who you're gonna run into, connect with, or anything. And I'm grateful for the connections that I've made recently. So, without further ado, let's get started with Off Topic Tuesday on Vibin in the D with Lily so you can see what I'm talking about. So, I'm gonna bring to the stage. I'm just gonna, and then me and her gonna talk about the connection thing because might as well do it like that. So I'm bringing Rachel Hensley to the stage. She is a therapist. Now, mind you, this is not necessarily a therapy session. We are going to talk about a subject of how to fight right, because a lot of people don't know how to fight. They fight wrong. They say the wrong things. They do the wrong things. So we're going to talk about those processes and how it should go. But Rachel is, we'll talk about that now. Let me just go ahead and bring her on. Welcome.
Hey, Lily.
What's up with you?
Oh, vibing.
Vibing in the D with me. All right now. Well, I'm glad to have you on. I was telling my viewers that you make connections and you don't know that you're going to make these connections. So most of my viewers know that I'm addicted to TikTok. I'm on TikTok every day, every day, all night. Huh? And Rachel is on TikTok as it's Lady D fool. And she does so many different things, but she has this segment called Therapy Thursday, which I think is absolutely awesome. She gives tips and different things you can do for yourself and for your mental health, and I'm just glad to have you on.
Well, thank you. Are we going to talk about how I found you on TikTok?
Go ahead.
I was for something to cheer up my gloomy days because, pandemic, quarantine, stuck, right? And it was a great escape, TikTok. My daughter introduced me to TikTok.
Okay.
So she sent me a video of someone using this really funny voice, like pretending to be an elderly woman, right? And I found out that you cannot comment or like TikTok videos unless you have a TikTok.
Oh.
So one of the whole reasons that I even have a TikTok was so that I could enjoy laughing with people on TikTok.
Right.
And about the fourth or fifth video I came across was you on my For You page.
What? I was on the For You
page. And still, to this day, I go to TikTok to look for laughs with Lily.
Man, TikTok is so fun, but I mean, you are something else. Cause I tell you, I'm waiting for you to get in the studio and be on some award show or something. Cause you're good. You are good. You are lyrically awesome.
I have been waiting for the same thing since about 1993. There's actually Plan B. It's actually Plan B.
Man, that's what's up. That's what's up. So, tell us a little bit how you got into being a therapist. What made you go that route in your life?
That's really kind of a funny story that I share with young people a lot because one of the things I see, I'm also a professor at the University of Houston here, right? So a lot of students present themselves as in this existential crisis because like I'm 25 and I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like I don't have the direction in my life laid out perfectly in front of me, right? And so I love to tell story about how I even started doing what I was doing because it wasn't the plan at all. So I dropped out of high school when I was 16. I had my son when I was 16 years old, and it just, the story. And so I remember going and seeing my school counselor and her recommending that I go ahead and make take a shorter route and get a GED and, you know, kind of start my life, find a trade or something like that, right? And so that was kind of my first encounter with counseling. It kind of gave me, you know, the association of they give you direction and you just kind of do what they say kind of thing. So that's what I thought counseling at first, right? So as I go through, you know, this journey of life, trying to figure out what my laid out plan is, I decided that I would just try anything that sounded interesting. So I went to school for a little while, became a massage therapist. Wasn't for you, girl. Not the type of healer that I am, right? And little odd jobs here and there, here and there. And finally, I decided about 25, when I had my own existential crisis of why I didn't know the direction of my life, I decided to go back to school to be a pharmacy tech.
Okay.
I thought good pay, decent job. Maybe you could elevate yourself if I liked it, maybe be a pharmacist or something, right? So I had to take a remedial math class to start because it had been 10 years since, you know, I'd taken a math class, right? You don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
Shout out to Robert Arenas. This advisor at my junior college tells me as I'm signing up for this class, you know, you could take another class for like $15. Like he just presented it like it would just be such a waste if I didn't go ahead and add another class, right? And there's like all these people behind you and they're all frustrated, right? And in a hurry and pressed. And so I didn't really feel like I had a lot of time. I opened up this little pamphlet thing and just real quick. And I was like, oh, Intro to Psychology. That sounds fun. I've always kind of been interested in human behavior. Like, why you do that? What makes you do that, right? I'll do that. So first exam in that class, the professor holds me up at the end of class and tells me nobody has ever gotten 100 on one of her exams before. That I was natural at this and that I needed to know that because people who were kind of natural at it thought it was just common sense. And if I ever needed a letter of recommendation to continue pursuing psychology, to please let her know and keep her contact information. And that changed everything for me. It wasn't just her saying like, hey, I'm really impressed with you. I mean, that was a big part of it. But it was the fact that she saw potential in me.
Yeah.
In myself yet. And that was so different than my very first experience. You know what I mean? Like the guiding and showing instead of telling and directing, right?
Right.
And I mean, like it just kind of went from there.
That's dope. Well, I needed him to give me one of those pamphlets.
Robert Arenas.
That's awesome, though. So when we were talking about what we would discuss on here, what made you want to talk about this particular subject?
Oh, well, that's an easy one. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. That's what the LMFT stands for. I'm also a certified anger resolution therapist. That's what the CART stands for, right? So I'm a little biased in the things that I see as being the themes of people's problems. And I have quite a few couples that I've seen, that I'm seeing now, that I plan to see in the future, right? And every single one of them thinks that falling in love is the end game. You know why, Leah? Because that's what we all think. So no one ever takes the time to sit down and go, let's make sure that we know how to manage conflict.
Okay.
Let's sit down and talk about how you learned from your family of origin what people were supposed to do when they were upset.
Woo, baby, we ain't gonna talk about that.
And so I thought that's probably something really good to talk about. It's just kind of tell people a few things that you can at least avoid. So maybe you don't make a conflict worse. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and profess to be able to tell people in 30 minutes how to make their relationship perfect or anything like that.
Oh, we doing this for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. Well, then got it. I got to perfect slow motion toward each other through a field of flowers.
Right. That's dope. Smoke Jones said, "Can I ask a question? How can a person know if they are in a trauma bond?"
Oh, very good question. So the simplest answer would be it depends. It depends on the person's level of self-awareness, I would have to say, because one of the first steps to change, I mean, I know I sound like AA or something, but is realizing that there's an issue. And a lot of people will realize that there's a problem without seeing the issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So self-awareness is key in that. So if you are a self-aware person and you know that you have experienced trauma, if you know that you're triggered easily into your past trauma, then you probably should know that if you aren't currently in a relationship, you should work to heal that prior to entering a relationship. People can get better in supportive relationships. I'm by no means saying if you've had trauma and you just realize this and you're in a relationship, break up. I'm not saying that. But take the time to work on yourself, because unresolved trauma creates constant trauma reactions. There's really no other bond to have with a person if you have this unresolved trauma, and that's not just an experience unconditional love and those kind of things, but relationships are work.
Yeah.
And they require a lot of discomfort.
Mm.
Because you have to get uncomfortable to grow, to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a state of heightened anxiety, hypersensitivity, because they have unresolved past trauma, those things are going to come up in every conflict. Every conflict. These things will, I have notes. These things will help learning how to fight right and gaining self-awareness and resolving your trauma. Absolutely, you can have a beautiful, healthy relationship.
Yeah.
But people who have trauma, one of the hardest things for them to do is trust.
Yes.
Which is understandable. And so you can see how that would interfere with relationship.
Right. Did you by any chance see the movie Malcolm and Marie?
I have not.
Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about Malcolm and I saw Malcolm and Marie, and you might find it interesting considering your background. But it was very interesting seeing the dynamics in their relationship, and that's basically what the movie was about. It was just them two in it. But yeah,
Wow.
it was very different.
Let me
Yeah.
write.
Yeah,
We're gonna check that one out.
I want to say I enjoyed it, and then at the same, well, I must have enjoyed it. I kept watching it, so whatever. It was kind of a train wreck. Like I'm like, what's gonna happen now? What is he? What is she gonna say? What are he gonna say? So yeah, like I was eavesdropping on them or something.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Carla said you should definitely watch it.
I will. Wrote it down. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. What's up? Thank you everybody for tuning in. That's tuned in so far. Yeah. So when you first sent me the information and it said the Four Horsemen. Now I didn't read it yet. I just saw the Four Horsemen and I'm like, what kind of biblical stuff we about? I was like, wait a minute, because I had it at work. I printed it out at work, and Sarah, who works with me, both of us said the same thing, and then we started reading it, and then we were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it is. It's actually metaphorical too. The four
Yeah,
of the apocalypse of the relationship.
right. So let's get started.
Okay. Hey, cousin. To my family. Oh, whoa, there's a lot of questions. What if we fight, but it's only when someone else tries to get in the middle? Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay, hold that thought. So first I want to start by, because I am a professor and I don't plagiarize or anything like that. The Four Horsemen is not my theory. It's not my thought. It is Dr. Julie and John Gottman's baby. They're the relationship people. So like LMFTs, all of us know who the Gottmans are. We use their help with infidelity, like they've been in the game forever. Okay. So they gave us this, and their research is thorough, so we can trust them. I just wanted everybody to know that. So here's the thing is what I'd like to do is kind of present the horsemen, right? The poison, so to speak, and then immediately give the antidote instead of through all 4 of them and then giving. So while it's on your mind, you know what to do with it, because that's where a lot of people fall off, is they tell you everything that's messed up and then they don't tell you really how to fix it. So, all right. So the first horseman is criticism. Yes. Now listen, criticism is different from a complaint or a critique. All right. So offering constructive criticism to help make someone better. Absolutely. Complaining that something is bothering you and you have a need that needs to be met. Sure. Criticism is like name calling. It's attacking a person's character or a person's personality instead of what you're really upset about. Right. So let me give an example. So let's say a complaint would be something like, hey, I was really worried when you didn't call me when you were later than you said you were going to be. I thought we had agreed to do that for each other. That's a complaint. A criticism sounds like, you are so selfish. I swear you don't think about anybody but yourself. And I don't believe that you're just forgetful. You're just selfish. You never do. You always do this shit. That's criticism.
And that's what I usually hear. Not to me, but I'm just saying when people are arguing, I don't hear the complaint. I hear the criticism.
And so the difference being the damage being created because instead of talking about what the problem is, you're now talking about this person. This person that you love, right? This person that you want to be with. All of the sudden, in these moments of anger or frustration, have all of these character flaws that you need to point out that you just noticed because they didn't take out the trash or they didn't call, you know, you know? And it's the heightened emotion, which is why I'm so keyed about anger and like coping skills around anger and taking time outs and, you know, things like that, which is huge because nervous system gets triggered and you're in fight or flight. Like it doesn't matter if the attack was real or not. You understand what I'm saying? And you know what, before we go any further, let me back up and let everybody that's watching know that every relationship has conflict. Every relationship that has passion has conflict because we fight for what we care about.
Right.
Okay. And conflict can be productive and positive. It can, if it's managed right. So that's why we want to learn these things. So I don't fight. We don't fight at all. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. You know what I mean? Like we never argue. We did that. You probably should look at that. You know what I mean? Anyway, so the antidote to criticism is to complain without blame. Right? Just focus and stay on the subject. Bars. Work. I got a hip hop therapy album coming out this summer. Be sure to check it out. Complain without blame. And here's the thing about a criticism is criticism in little bursts, it's going to happen. But when criticism becomes like pervasive, it starts to build an intensity and frequency. You know, every time your partner feels criticized like that, they're hurt, you know, they feel attacked, rejected, assaulted, basically. Right? So every time you do that, it's just a little niche, you know, just like a little dent taken out, just a little more. And so it builds on each other. And so criticism, more and more of that is going to lead to the deadlier horseman. So we just want to get rid of that when we first notice it. It's usually one of the first things that happens on the road to the second horseman, which is contempt. Now that's a big one. It's the most damaging horseman.
Wow.
Like if contempt enters your relationship, it doesn't even have to stay there for very long, and it can create enough damage to take you to the point of no return.
Wow.
So that's scary. You know?
That is.
And to define contempt is looking at a person from a superior position, you know, looking down on them. And I would even add a really harsh word and say with disgust. Loss of respect, for sure.
Wow.
Contempt makes things come out of your mouth like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. Why are you so stupid? That's contempt. And it usually comes with a lot of nonverbal behaviors like eye rolling and the teeth smacking with the side. This is the classic right here. If I see that on my couch, woo! Right then, I got to jump in. Oh, we got to pull back from this. When you're looking at that person like
that, you pretty much done with them at that point.
That's why it's so dangerous. Because scientifically, love makes us stupid, right? That's why love is not the end game. People fall in love and they're like, oh, we're in love, happily ever after. But that's like when the work starts. Yes, that's when, you know, you have to work on relationships almost daily. But when things are good and you don't have to work and you're getting along well and there's no work to do, then there's no problem. So that's why we learn how to fight right. Because we need to deal with when there's a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the house that's on fire, you don't wet up the whole block. So we got to focus on save us.
What do you do? I think that's in part of it. Well, I think that's toward the end. But
what?
When you're having a problem, you know how people go into the silent mode and they don't talk?
Yes.
That can do a lot of damage as well.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite things that I've ever heard another therapist say was, well, you know, no response is a huge response. Not saying anything, boy, that's saying something. He would always say things like that. And I mean, in the moments when he said them, it was powerful because that silence spoke volumes. You know, the sinking into yourself because you're that defeated. That usually comes to the partner of the one who's receiving contempt. So let's give an example of what contempt might look like. So let's say, you know, walk into the house and you get hit with, you just say, oh man, I'm really tired. I had a long day. Oh, you're tired. Cry me a river. Let me tell you, I've been running around trying to keep this house in order all day, dealing with these kids. And then you come home, you plop down on the couch and you just jump on them video games. It's like having another child. Try to be more pathetic.
Wow.
That's contempt.
That's deep.
All semblance of partnership, teamwork, like, God damn it, what Cheese saying right now, you're seeing that person as your enemy. So you have nowhere to go but cycle through the horsemen, you know? Oh, a little criticism here, a little contempt there, a little stonewalling here. Oh, time to get defensive. And nothing is being managed or resolved because you basically checked out.
Damn.
You know? So I want to add an interesting piece of science to this one.
Okay.
So I found out through research that couples who have contempt enter their relationship are more likely to suffer from infectious illnesses.
What?
Like colds and the flu.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was just kind of important to mention, you know, at this time.
Wow.
And we all ought to be kind of worried about keeping our immune systems.
Okay.
So let's stay away from contempt to keep us well.
Right.
And how do we stay away from contempt? So the antidote to contempt is very similar to me to the skill of opposite action. That's like a DBT skill. It's one of my favorite skills. So it's building a culture of appreciation and respect. So it's compliments, it's positive reinforcements, it's gratitude. It's focusing on the things that the person is doing right instead of nagging about the things you don't like and the wrong. right? So I'm really proud of the way you handled that parent-teacher conference, right? I really appreciate the way you handled dinner tonight, or cleaning those dishes after dinner tonight. It made me feel, I got to relax. It was great for me, those kind of things.
Right.
So as soon as you see any sign of contempt or criticism, even, go opposite action. Start complimenting, gratitude. I'm a big believer in giving what you want to get, because what you give comes back to you. So whenever you're like, my partner is just not being the partner that I want them to be, right after that, go, what am I doing as a partner to be the partner I want to be? Because we don't often do that. It's easier to, well, if you just adjust your behavior and learn all of my triggers and adjust your emotions to keep me from reacting, then we'll be fine. And it makes sense in your head, but I just said it out loud and it sounded kind of ridiculous. Right?
Yeah. Some Pixie Prince said, I can see contempt on somebody's face. That's where I struggle. I'm ready to draw attention to it immediately, but get accused of starting shit.
Okay. That's kind of a catch-22 right there. Because in one respect, you want to be able to trust your instincts, right? What you're feeling, what you're seeing. That's why we have nonverbal communication. Most communication is nonverbal, actually. And then at the same time, earlier we were talking about unresolved trauma and trauma responses, and we're subjective creatures, and we look through the lens of our experience. So unless you're like a completely, perfectly healthy person or psychic, it's difficult to be able to read someone's mind and intentions all of the time. That being said, I use the word disgust with contempt for a reason.
Okay.
Because disgust is a basic emotion. It's to keep us safe from being poisoned. And it does come with a facial expression. That's one of the ways we know basic emotions, is they contain the same facial expression. So I kind of want to jump on the boat of, if someone is looking at you with contempt, you probably can see it and feel it.
Right.
And I wouldn't jump to the conclusion if you pointed out that that's the way you're feeling in a healthy way. Like, I feel this when you look at me that way because, my mother used to look at me that way, or whatever the association might be, and they attack you. That sounds like defensiveness a little bit. One of the Four Horsemen, the next Four Horsemen. And usually when people get defensive, it's because there's an insecurity that's been touched.
Get that ugly look off your face.
Like, it's a universal expression. So
why you always looking stank?
Unless you listen to some really good hip hop,
Right.
That look like that
the stank face.
We're gonna start calling it the contemptuous hip hop look, right?
Okay.
So stay away from it. Get rid of it immediately. If you notice that it has infiltrated insidiously, pervasively throughout your relationship, I highly recommend therapy, because your therapist will most likely be able to tell you if you have work to do or work to do. But do something about it for sure.
Right. Wow. That's dope. That's deep and dope and deep.
It is, and some of it seems so simple when you say it.
Oh, but it's not.
But it takes me back to, that people don't know your intentions unless you speak on it, and you might think it's common sense and it's not. And so why not?
Why you always burning the pizza?
What? You eat it anyway.
It sure did.
Third one. You ate it anyway.
Wait, y'all. I got home from work. Today, and I was starving. And I actually made a blackened pizza. I forgot it was. Well, I didn't forget it was in the oven. I just took too long to go check on it, and when I got to it, it was looking like Wesley Snipes. But I digress. I ate it anyway.
In the pizza's defense, you ate it anyway. Oh my goodness. Ooh, Black and Peace. Okay. Where were we?
We're on the third
horseman. Defensiveness. Defend the pizza. Defensiveness. So defensiveness usually comes when a person feels attacked, right? But what it looks like is throwing it back at you. Like the way the best defense is a good offense, right? I don't know
right.
who said that, but I've heard that before. But
yeah, I've heard it before too.
But when we feel attacked unjustly, right, we start like fishing for reasons and explanations and stuff like that, and it's defensiveness. But what it's telling our partner is basically like it's their fault. It's not really me, it's you. It's like it's almost like a way of dismissing, So defensiveness, the word defensiveness doesn't really sound like what it looks like. Let me give an example. So let's say, I come home and I say, hey, did you call Betty and Ralph and let them know that we weren't going to make it this evening? Like you said you would this morning. Well, defensiveness would look like, oh my God, you knew I was busy all day. Why didn't you do it? See? So I just threw it back at you. You knew I was busy. There's that mind reading, right? Why didn't you do it?
Right.
Instead of saying, oh, snap, I forgot. I probably should have asked you to handle that for me because I knew how full my schedule was going to be today. I'll do that right now.
But that don't happen.
Although it is perfectly understandable to want to defend yourself because you feel attacked. The defense, like making excuses like that, is invalidating. Right? So we just try to stay away from that. The antidote to defensiveness is accepting responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? Being accountable. Hey, I should have called, instead of, well, if I would have had time, like you just have no idea what I've been through today. There goes that. Let me show you all these ways to understand my triggers so that you can adjust your behavior so that I don't have, it's the easy way out instead of just, you're right, which is a skill. You're right. Taking responsibility. And then I'll try to do it better. I'll try to make it. I'll go handle it now. I should have, right? You're absolutely right. And also, a lot of times when we feel like we're being attacked by our partner, it's saying a lot more about the relationship. Right? Because when your relationship is really solid, like you got a good friendship, that's the foundation, right? You got commitment. Those are the walls. Now you got this sound relationship house. And Boo comes home and it's just like slamming stuff around. And a shaky relationship house is going to go, oh my God, what did I do? And then what can I do to make it better? Right? A relationship house is going to automatically go, looks like he had a rough day. Looks like she had a hard time. Let me go see how I can help. It's a whole different intention. Let me protect myself. Let me save myself. Let me stay ahead in this relationship versus let me be a partner. Let me be a teammate. Let me see how much of the 50-50 I have to give today. Because it's not always 50-50. Sometimes I only got 40. So the relationship having a solid foundation is a lot of reason why we don't react, why we don't have this reactiveness, why we don't feel triggered all the time, why we don't, feel like our partner is against us or manipulating us or playing us or, things like that. A lot of times that goes to something deeper.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of defending, take accountability. Right? That leads us to the last one. That's stonewalling. That's
stonewalling.
So you tell me what you think about stonewalling because you brought it up earlier.
Oh, about leaving? About
like shutting down or silent treatment or whatever it was you were saying.
I mean, that's to me, that's like that doesn't solve anything. I do understand though that sometimes people do have to take a moment and get themselves together because they know how they are and they may say something they don't want to say. I get that, but just going like days and a long period of time and you just don't talk, I don't that kills a relationship to me.
Yes, yes.
Like when are y'all gonna talk again? When you gonna try and figure this out? Like I said, I get it. You got into it about something, and then you like, give me a minute, because I don't want to say nothing stupid.
Yes.
And then that minute is literally like, it could be a half an hour, 30 minutes, whatever. You might have to go outside and take a deep breath or roll around in the snow. I know you don't want to do that, Rachel, but but going like days and days and days and y'all just not talking, like that shit kills.
Yeah. Funny you should bring that up. So when your nervous system is triggered, so boom, I feel attacked, right? Or I feel angry because I feel like you said something unfair and I'm whatever it is. You get elevated. It is so important to take a time out. So important. And it takes, are you listening, people? 20 minutes for the nervous system to return to baseline.
Okay? Wow. I did learn that one time. I did.
So if you need to go roll around in the snow for 20 minutes, that's what you're not doing during that 20 minutes is ruminating, telling hero stories in your head, planning your attack when you return to the conflict. You're distracting yourself and you're doing something soothing, right? So stonewalling, this kind of goes with stonewalling, because stonewalling happens when we feel flooded. Okay? And flooded is a combination of two emotions, very heightened, hostile and helpless. So you see why that would shut people down, right? So so the nervous system, we learn fight or flight, right? But there's also freeze or faint. Right? Some people don't fight. Some people can't run. Some people and that's stonewalling. You're flooded, hostile, helpless. I'm so angry about this and I want to fix it and I feel helpless to do so. That is overwhelming.
That was me today. And yesterday at work. Okay, I'm sorry.
So did you shut down for a little bit?
Not really. I waited till they left and I was like, get the hell up out of here. No, I used to.
Okay.
I used to, if somebody like got really ignorant. Well, even now I do stop talking. Like if somebody's like going off on me on the phone or they even come in, I don't say anything to them anymore because they're not going to listen anyway. And they're upset. And all that's on their mind is I need to go off on somebody. So sometimes they're standing there talking to themselves.
Right. And most of the time that's what they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're right. All these different parts of their brain have shut down. That's displaced. Half of it probably isn't even about you. Because we walk around keeping score in our head all day of the wrongs that have happened to us and stuff. And then we come home, take it out on our partner.
Right. Now, Carla said a lot of relationships dissolve over money issues. Thoughts on that?
I do have thoughts on that, Carla. I don't think it's money issues. I think it's communication issues. I think it's boundary issues. I think it's issues with accepting, with issues with unconditional love. But I don't see any reason to break up a partnership over money. I could see a partnership breaking up over I'm struggling because I'm the only person that's working and I'm barely keeping us afloat and you're not even trying, but that's not about money. Is it?
No.
That's about you're not putting forth effort to show me that you care about supporting us as a team. Right?
I left my husband last week because he wouldn't stop the gambling.
Yeah, that. And see, and that's not really money. That's a deeper issue, right? But what about the neighbor that you had that was going around checking everybody's mailboxes for the STEMI check? Like that issue could be about money. You could be upset and have conflict. That's about the money because they don't even know that lady, you know? But we digress again. So relationships, I know that the statistics say, oh, top 3 things people divorce over, you know what I mean? Like money, but it's not really money, you know, because I have seen people be homeless together. You know what I mean? And have like healthier relationships than people in a higher socioeconomic status. We'll just say that.
Wow.
So problems, I'm gonna tell you right now, main problems, I'm gonna go from my personal experience, my 8 years of working with couples, right? Which I've done the whole time. And it's communication. They don't know how to really actively listen, right? They don't know how to fight, right? The stuff we're talking about tonight. And that's part of communication to me, right? And then what else we have? Money, sex. That's communication to me too.
Yeah.
All of it is that how willing are you to open yourself up, to be vulnerable with this person, right? To build this sound relationship house. Friendship, trust, commitment. Almost everybody that comes and sits on my couch has shaky walls. Like something, I mean, I'm a therapist. Something has happened to one of their walls, right? Somebody messed up. Somebody wasn't honest. Somebody wasn't open. And to me, that's a communication issue too. So communication and trust, probably the biggest things. I hear people argue about money all the time and it returns back to trust. She was hiding this money from me, or he overspends and is thoughtless about, but it's the thoughtlessness, not the money.
Wow.
So really quick, let me give the antidote for stonewalling for the people who are sitting out there going, but wait, you didn't say how to fix that. And I know somebody that does that, asking for a friend, right? Physiological self-soothing. You take the time out, right? Because I just said you were flooded. So you take the time out, you engage in self-care practices. Physiological self-soothing. So like dancing, exercise, taking a bubble bath, a warm shower, you know what I mean? Rubbing lotion on your ashy elbows, like do a face mask, you know, something that is going to soothe you physically. Meditation is really nice if you can get yourself calm enough. Bars again. I missed that one.
Oh, wow. That's deep.
And people get in their own way a lot.
That's true.
You know, sometimes I wish that human beings could just kind of get rid of that whole ego, pride thing. I think we would do better. Like, I get it, being proud of yourself and being confident, but there's so many issues that come with not feeling those things.
Yeah.
And then what we compare ourselves to, because we always define ourselves in relationship to others. So it's like, what are you comparing to? And the media gives us like these impossible comparisons for attractiveness, for love, for relationship, for anything.
Impossible.
Yeah. And we still try and have it. Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people getting in their own way.
Yeah. What are the top things that you have to help people with in their relationships?
Talking to each other. Hearing each other. Active listening is a huge one.
Yeah.
And let me explain to you what I'm talking about, right? So let's say I have mom and pop here, right? And I tell mom to turn to pop and tell him what she needs, because I'm teaching them how to actively communicate. And she says, Pop, I just need a little help around the house. And I turn to Pop and I say, what did you hear her say? And Pop, 8 times out of 10 will go, I heard her say I don't do shit around here, but let me tell you, I put the dishes in the dishwasher. I just washed the bed sheets last week. And I have to go, whoa, 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 whoa. What did you hear? When did you hear her say that? Because I heard something completely different. That's what I mean by active listening, is hearing what your partner said, not what your interpretation was that triggered your insecurities about stuff you probably already feel bad about or whatever.
Right.
You know, so that's the biggest one, is helping people learn how to talk and listen to each other. Absolutely number one. Everything else falls under that. Most of the time it's broken trust. So I have to help them regain trust. That's one of the hardest things to do.
Pixie Prince said, I'm blind. How do you fight right about stuff the other person acts like they can't see?
Oh. So the real question is, are they acting like they can't see it, or can they really not see it? Because that's a thing. So if they're being disingenuous and acting like they can't see what the problem is, depending on what the problem is you're trying to discuss, if you're constantly getting resistance and invalidation, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the relationship. If it's more of they turn it around on you with defensiveness a lot, or like everything always seems to be your fault, you need to be doing the work, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. Not going to diagnose anybody with like narcissistic personality disorder, but I feel like we're kind of trending more toward the me, look at me kind of tendencies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're just not willing to admit any flaws, any wrongdoing, reciprocate any desire to work on the relationship, then that leaves you with a really big choice about whether you want to stay. Because I'm going to tell you right now, one person doing the work in a more than one person relationship can only last for so long.
Sure can't last.
So if they're not willing to like, all right, you're right at any point.
Right. So hey, Apollo. It popped up on the internet that I could see quite maybe I want to say 2 years ago I started seeing this, or maybe a year and a half ago, how people started sharing. I used to think that communication was key until I realized comprehension is. You can communicate all you want to someone, but if they don't understand you, you won't reach them the way you need to. You need it to.
Absolutely. So active communication. What did you hear her say? That's not what she said. Sometimes you need a mediator, you know? I've given this assignment to people to try to do on their own, only after we've practiced where I can point out things. Because I'm trying to teach things like use I feel statements, so that you don't feel like if you start a statement with you, your partner's gonna just like 9 times out of 10, they're gonna shut down, because that's an
They're gonna feel attacked.
So I feel, you'd be surprised how hard I feel statements are. Say, just give me anyone. I feel, and then you put in an emotion, right?
Right.
Feel this way when this, and boy, this is how it goes. I feel like, and I go, I gotta stop him right there, because you know it's coming. I feel like you. See?
Yeah.
I'll go back and I'll go, okay. I feel that, nope. I feel that you, I feel when, nope. It's always, give me a feeling. And then I start throwing out feelings: sad, hurt, disappointed, frustrated. And usually they'll latch on to one of those.
Okay.
And we'll do that a couple of times. It gets easier, but it is difficult. It's a form.
Especially if you've never done that. If that's not, and a lot of times people are gonna recreate what they grew up around, what they saw their parents doing, what they saw other adults doing, and that's how they fight.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Nobody sits down and, unless you're in my family, go, okay, so I brought some documents today and we're going to talk about the Four Horsemen, and I'm going to teach you guys how to, and this is for relationship. It's not like your job, right? Your job is going to be you're going to have to take a different approach to dealing with angry people, disgruntled people, people who want to engage you in conflict and dialectic. You can still follow these kinds of guidelines to make sure that you stay in your character when you're dealing with these people who are absolutely trying to pull you out of your character.
What about starting it off? It makes me feel.
As long as after feel comes an emotion, I believe that would work.
Yeah.
Because it's it, not you. And that is kind of disassociating too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it. Because I often tell people to take their relationship and make it a separate entity when we're doing work. I'll even get a chair. Sometimes I'll put a stuffed animal there. We'll name it, right? Okay, Clementine. Clementine is in ICU. So we're in here trying to figure out whether we're going to throw all the experimental treatments we have at her or whether we're going to pull the plug and let her have some peace, right? That's what the work here. And then it's nobody's fault. We're a team trying to help Clementine.
Right.
Wait, what are the don'ts in phrasing? Carla, let me tell you, always, never.
Yeah.
Don't say, those are criticisms.
Yes.
Say someone always does something or never does something that is speaking to who they are as a person, right? So that would be a criticism. And it's extreme thinking, pretty much not true. So we might as well avoid that altogether. Another word I like to take out especially when we're talking about conflict between partners in intimate relationships. So that's even like parent, child, siblings, best friends, any intimate relationship. But
oh, but cancel everything.
Yes, it does. It negates whatever came before it. Like, no disrespect, but I'm about to disrespect you. Here's something super offensive, right?
Exactly.
I love DBT, and the D in DBT stands for dialectical, right? It's dialectical behavior therapy. And what a dialectic is two seemingly opposing ideas can go together. Like, I hate school and I love learning.
I thought when you said dialectic, I kept thinking, man, I need to check my blood sugar, but no, never mind.
But you can just, instead of saying, I just said but, instead of saying but, you could say and.
Because in relationships, it's always about the relationship between you and you.
I see what you did there. It's always. I could probably even argue with that if I wanted to. First and foremost, your relationship with yourself has to be good. Like, let me tell you, who are you stuck with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from birth to death?
I know, right? Get on my nerves sometimes.
Oh, and people be over here like, oh my God, you so much to deal with. I'm dealing with me all the time. At
least man. My dad used to say, I can't get mad at myself.
I can.
I
stay mad at myself. What you talking about, Dad?
I be cussing myself out sometimes.
It does. It starts with yourself. Absolutely, it does. So let me just give for the rundown. Since we talked about the Four Horsemen, let me just give a few general guidelines for talking about your feelings as a couple. Just to make sure everybody has everything I can give them in case they never see me again ever. Therapy Thursdays on TikTok.
You know what? Don't say that.
Work to understand and respect the other person's feelings before expressing your own. It's number one. Limit the feelings you're discussing to those that relate to the specific situation. That goes with complain without blame, right? So we don't make a list and go, oh, since we're talking about stuff, let me just go ahead and tell you the other 7 things that I had stuffed down, and let's try not to do that.
That is not cool.
If you reach a point where it's clear that one or the both of you aren't communicating well or are flooded, right, before the stonewalling happens, take a time out. 20 minutes. You know what to do. They come back and try again, right? Be clear with each other about why you're communicating and what you want to communicate about, because a lot of couples will be trying to have two different conversations. This one's trying to problem solve, and this one just wants to talk about ideas. This one wants to vent. This one wants to fix something. So if you vent why you're entering the conversation in the first place, it can kind of, reduce all of that.
Wow. Amazing. Everybody give Rachel a round of applause. That is awesome. When we doing this again?
I don't know. Let's do it in a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe two.
I'm down with it.
I need to get through February and March. Those are big months for me in my sentimental life. So how about April? We'll resurrect it.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. We'll set that up. We will do that.
All right.
I think this was really good. And I mean, even if people kind of know, it gives good reminders and refreshers. And yeah, let me see here. Carla said, do you have a list or channel on how to find awesome people of color therapists around the U.S.?
Melanin and Mental Health.
Ah, nice.
It's where I got my drip, my dope therapist drip.
Okay.
I don't remember how I was introduced to Eliza Boqueen, but she introduced me to Melanin and Mental Health because she works with them. Absolutely. They have groups on Facebook, Instagram. Find them.
Melanin and Mental Health. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And they have some really nice merch too.
I see.
I love you too.
Let me see. Am I spelling this right? Melanin and Mental Health. I was trying to make sure that I didn't spell melatonin.
Right. That's a absolutely. Totally feel you, Lily.
Right.
Man, this was a vibe.
Yeah, this was dope. I appreciate you for coming on, and I appreciate the connection with you, and keep doing what you're doing. Amazing. Thank you. Excellent information with practical takeaways. Thank you.
Practical.
I appreciate you all for tuning in. This has been dopey dope. Don't go anywhere, Rachel. We will see you again on the next Vibin in the D, which is this coming Friday. I will be talking to Nappy Devi. He is a dope artist in the city of Detroit. And you all have a great evening. Don't go anywhere, Rachel.
All right.
Off topic.
Make sure to